Hello. So, hi everybody, welcome. A couple of words of introduction. We are here to talk to Ydessa Hendeles, who is a great collector and, more importantly, a very unusual, I would say, action critic, somebody that has created situations and exhibitions as a way of writing in space, as Harald Zeman would say, and who has really explored new fields of exhibition making. But before we get to her, I'll do a little self-promotion because this conversation is part of a presentation of the Gwangju Biennale, which is a biennale that happens in South Korea and that opens on September 2nd this year. And so on the occasion of this Biennale, we also just recently released a book that you find here and that you are all welcome to take for free at the end of the talk, along with some support material and information about the exhibition. The book is a collection of artists from Asia in a very broad and general sense, and it brings together artists that were recommended to my attention for possible inclusion in the show, and some of them will be in the show and some others, unfortunately, are not. And then you'll find a complete press kit of the exhibition. But then let's go back to Ydessa. Ydessa is probably, her contribution is probably the most ambitious project in the whole Gwangju Biennale. And I've seen her show Partners in Munich when she presented it in 2003. And I was, I would say, forever changed because as a curator and an art lover myself, I saw something I had never seen before. I had seen a fantastic collection, a fantastic group of works, and most importantly, an incredible curatorial vision that brought together cultural artifacts, objects that were not exactly artworks and toys, and found objects that Ydessa weaves in a sort of narrative to expose hidden meanings within artworks and to create new unexpected connections between artworks. Ydessa opened the Ydessa Hendeles Art Foundation in 1988 in Toronto, where she's been organizing shows and showcasing her collection, combining contemporary art or whatever is recognized as such as contemporary art, along with more unusual findings that she scouts through her work as a collector and as a researcher. Some of her exhibitions that it's worth remembering are Same Difference in 2001, where the so-called Teddy Bear Project started, and she will tell us more about it. Partners, the exhibition at the Haus der Kunst in Munich, an exhibition that was originated by Christer Kohn, who was recently appointed the director of Tate Modern. And she currently has a show in Toronto titled Straight Jacket, and she's about to open a show in Germany in Marburg, which is the town where she was born, and that will open in October this year. And then the Teddy Bear Project will be in Korea in September. But maybe let's just start by looking at some of the pictures and the documentation of the Teddy Bear Project, and by asking probably the most simple question: when and how did the Teddy Bear Project start, and what it is exactly? Can you tell us?
Thank you. Good to stay on this. Thank you for that, and thank you for the nice introduction. I appreciate it. It helps me start, because it's a very layered, closer? It's a very layered presentation that I've made. My interest was in, first of all, in Canada, of making a new life in a new country, and supporting the idea of art making as an individualistic act in a country that supported primarily group activities. Museums, everything was done in in a group. There wasn't the same value for individualism as in Germany, America, and in England. So I think if we could go to the installation back, I will say that okay, you can stay there. I think if we go back one, and I will tell you quickly that the Teddy Bear Project was my interest in providing a link between a context for a work and a link between two other works in a site-specific partnership. A partnership with the architect of the Haus der Kunst, Paul Ludwig Troost, a partnership with the museum, a partnership primarily with the artist, because my wish has always been to say to the artist that I show that I really am responding to something, some insight that it comes across. And I do this by giving forth my own insights. And so just to put into perspective, you can see the Teddy Bear Project was in those two galleries in the floor map. If you could get to the floor map, it's only 2 parts of 16 galleries at the Haus der Kunst. So the first part, the first point I would like to make, and I just make a few brief points, is that the work that, so it's just 2 galleries. It's a huge museum for somebody that doesn't have a museum. And so the first piece is by Diane Arbus, and she's taking a picture of herself, and she was the same generation, same age virtually as Anne Frank, and it was a family album photograph that she sent to her husband in Korea. She's in the family bathroom, and it's early on. And the next picture, and that's the context at the Haus der Kunst, and the next picture is The Dog by Maurizio Cattelan. And my problem in contextualizing and doing respect to this was to make a dead dog look alive. And I could not put him in a gallery very comfortably and have him be persuasive, so I created a whole teddy bear project as a kind of environment where the dog, the sculpture was on the floor, and the stuff that was not sculpture were in precious vitrines as if in a natural history museum. And it's beside presumably the guard's chair, and a 19th century museum. So we'll move forward. And then the last part of the, this passage, because I created passageways, created these artificial doors, which the Haus der Kunst still likes and keeps. And it is a work by Maurizio Cattelan of a childlike sculpture. And unlike Harold Seaman, the hunters and gatherers that bring the art and then create places where the art can show to its best advantage, what I do is I work maybe like a girl, like a dollhouse. And this is my Hitler doll that I try to do respect to the way in which Maurizio wanted it, approached from behind. And I tried to create a frame. So that's the most important points. And then we'll just move forward through these, and you can see there's a shock as viewers move around it. And it's a cinematic presentation, and that's why we have this cinematic presentation by you. And so we'll move forward, and that's the back of it. So now we can talk briefly about the Teddy Bear Project. And okay, we'll just stop here for a minute, and then we'll roll through afterwards. The Teddy Bear Project is comprised of 2 things. There are many pictures on the wall. There are 127 typologies, all of which have been created very specifically, chosen from eBay, which it's an archive, and every single picture has in it a teddy bear. Now that in itself is not so amazing as much as my interest in family album photographs overwhelmed me. There are so many family album photographs in the world. How do you start to create something that is coherent? You don't, I couldn't do it with a dog. Everybody has a dog, and it wasn't a cultural product, and I see myself as a cultural diagnostician. So I tried to create a project where, which would be manageable. There are actually very few pictures that have teddy bears in it, but I did work very hard, and I found over 3,000, and then I arranged them in narratives that you could approach one way or the other way, and I presented them on 2 floors. The mezzanines were made by, and I chose them myself, and also the pass through, which you can see in the walkway. The other thing is, and what was extraordinary for me, was that many people, I didn't understand, first of all, why people had this affection for teddy bears, because as a girl, I don't know, I wanted a doll. But I was interested that it seemed to take off and have some kind of importance. And it also came about in 2002 as a result of the rivalry between Germany, Margareta Steiff, two companies, and Ideal trying to capitalize on Teddy Roosevelt and exploit that in America and the election. So I tried to look at the two world wars and family album photographs, and I knew if it had a teddy bear in it, it came from the 20th century, because there was no teddy bear before 1902. There were bears on wheels, but something with articulated hands and posable somehow caught the imagination of the public. And so I got busy with that as a way of organizing family album photographs, looking at the drama, the family drama, and also looking at the changing way in which we have a relationship with the camera. How do you pose? How different can you be before you don't fit in, or you don't even show up, a picture doesn't even show up on eBay. So there are many different fanciful typologies, there's some genuine typologies. It's a kind of imagination of a world, it's a parallel world. So you go in and you think it's all real, very authoritative, because it has all of the strategies that give authority to museums, and especially 19th century museums of natural history. And so the most unusual ones, and that's why we want to stop first, okay, the next one, yes, are the ones that have bears in, and the photographs. Oftentimes a child dies, or for some reason people hold on to the teddy bear, and they also have the photograph of the original owner of the teddy bear. And that to me was amazing, that both survived. On the anniversary of 2003 of the creation of the teddy bear, which is a cultural artifact. So this combination of a cultural artifact of the photography, handheld photographs, family album photographs, and the teddy bear, I put together as a way of talking about world memory and the wars. And the first one, just to backtrack a bit, is Minnie Mouse. Was Adolf Hitler did not want his Luftwaffe to have the beloved symbol of Mickey Mouse on the sides of the bombers, which they used for good luck because it was an American symbol. So this was the building which showed the grand art that Hitler preferred. And here everything I was doing was very small, so I was very nervous about doing the show. So now you can roll through and know that all the pictures are not randomly placed. It's not a big mess that somebody else made clear. Every single picture, there are 16 walls, has been specifically placed, and the sequence of what the typologies are is a narrative. So it's a series, it's a narrative, it's a series of narratives, it's very congested in order to allow for the empty space where him is at the end. So that's the story of how it was made. And now you know everything.
So I'm trying to do this talk with only 2 questions, because as you see, there's
10 more minutes. And you can see that it's all done, all self-lit.
I think it's important that you take a look. That's the vastness of the project, and as Ydessa was saying, it's over 3,000 photographs organized in a way that somebody described to me as sort of rainbows, not only stories and narratives, but also shades of colors that go through the space.
I show you one here. Do you see this one here?
Yeah.
August Sander, face of our time, Antlied State Side. There's a teddy bear in the corner.
Yeah.
Next time you look.
So, and every single image contains a teddy bear. So for me, what really attracted me, besides the fact that it's quite an incredible curatorial accomplishment, and it's also Ydessa in the past has described it as a framing device.
Yes.
You know, you were telling me yesterday you created this to connect those two pieces, the Diane Arbus and the Maurizio Cattelan, but you were also creating a frame in which those objects are seen. I wanted to ask you, it took roughly, what, 5 years to complete this project?
Yes, and a lot of work. It's a frame, and it's a bridge, and it's an act of trust, that the artist trusts me with their work to present it in a way that celebrates what is most important, not what is thematic or tangential or incidental, but to provide a context, and I have done that as well. And now you are in partnership with the work, because that is what curators do. They are partners with the artist. And then how you show the work is whether it is transcendent and has meaning or not. Because then if one doesn't show it celebrating the most important insights, it's an object. If you show it in a way that celebrates it with meaning, you can take a toy and have it become as provocative and memorable as a work of art. But that nether space is a very difficult one to navigate.
Can I also, to give you also an idea of how Ydessa works, is every, no, can you actually go back? Sorry.
Okay.
All the lights are part of the installation. All the vitrines have been individually selected. Every single lighting aspect and architectural detail is part of the display itself. And throughout her exhibitions, Ydessa works very carefully on the display method for each single object, to the point that you use fiber optics to lighten up the sculptures and really work carefully on the displays as a sort of craft, I would say. But I would like to backtrack a little and ask you a very...
So now start to just let it roll.
A very simple, maybe banal question. Why did you start from the teddy bear? What was the curiosity about the teddy bear, and was it a curiosity for the sentimental value of the object, or was it a sort of form of cultural or a form of anthropological research about objects of affection, or what did lead you to the teddy bear in the first place?
I felt it in two cultures, Germany and actually America and England, and Canada. They seem to be part of the family. In England, they put the bears right on the couch. Now, I realized I think that just the fact that it was it came to become a convention of childhood that you gave a child a teddy bear. But they're vulnerable to moths, mice. The fact that they survived at all meant that they were cherished. And I didn't really understand why. I mean, I can understand a Ming vase surviving. Why a teddy bear? So in some ways, they were the detritus of culture. And those are the bears in the original photographs, and they're from Ottawa. So I didn't understand. So you'll just roll through quickly, because I think we've only got 5 more minutes. So I didn't understand it, and I wanted to understand it. And it was useful, because the more I researched it, the more I realized how, you know, the black teddy bear was, they capitalized on the Titanic to make a black mourning teddy bear. And there was all sorts of exploitations here, there, and the idea of creating an archive and not having to leave the house, just on eBay, was an interesting change at the end of the century, where suddenly you could work from in a different way.
You describe it also as a project ultimately about photography and about the relationship of people to cameras. Maybe can you, and that's also what I love about this project. It's, in a way, it's a beautiful essay on photographic convention and the history of photography. But
Electric
an essay,
eyes,
yeah.
And now they light up. I mean, every gimmick was possible, but you'll speed through them now pretty
It's a sort
quickly.
of spatial essay on photography and photographic representation. So maybe can you elaborate a bit on how you see the teddy bear project in relationship to the way we pose and stage and represent ourselves?
Well,
for
if it
cameras.
was a photographer's studio, the teddy bear became a prop, and mothers, fathers would dress up their children to look as fabulous as possible. If possible, better than others, but not so strange that they didn't belong. So really it's a story about conventions and crazes, and that is really the crux of what I wanted to know, is why does everybody do something and everybody winds up doing something? Something catches their imagination and they start to learn, and it's the same with the cameras, with the teddy bear. Everybody had a camera and everybody got into the convention of taking pictures, and we don't know the stories behind those pictures. So really they tell us nothing but how people present themselves. They tell us nothing about the individual lives. They only tell us about our culture. And that subject of culture, crazes, what pulls people together, helps me try to understand wars, conflicts, sides, and those all become, and that you took into war, the soldier. It seemed very strange to me that an adult warrior soldier would have a teddy bear, pocket teddy bear with them, and there he is, with Sneezy. So all of this seemed very strange to me, and so I became interested in it. It never, but I was also playful with it. Now it's, I mean, a teddy bear is both ferocious and cuddly, like a baby. So it has the role, and you can analyze that, analyze the history. But my interest was bringing two cultural phenomena together. And I think if you speed right through to the end.
Was the teddy bear project the first project in which you decided to take the collection towards outside the art world and into cultural artifacts, or you had done that before?
I had done that before with the blue teddy bear. Mark Francis was wonderful in supporting me on this. I found a blue teddy bear, and I was interested in the market, and in one 3-month period I bought photojournalism, the Eddie Adams image, and presented it with art, and also then the blue teddy bear. And I'd been playing around with finding other contexts, other frames to show work. But it started with my very first show where I did Boltanski's work with the clothing that he did, and then I put it together with Jenny Holzer's lights, his candle pieces. So now it's obvious. At the time it was not so obvious to put these two artists together at that time, and I kept wanting to find new ways to do it.
Yeah. What I also love about the Teddy Bear project is that it's clearly, if you allow me the adjective, it's a completely maniacal
Yes.
exercise, but at the same time, you know, you finish it, you complete it,
Yeah.
and you close that story and you move on. So it's not a compulsive behavior. You know, what I think is particularly interesting in your work is you play with the stereotype of the collector, no? The crazy collector,
yeah.
but at the same time you are working as a sort of anthropologist, or anyway, you're bringing together these objects and looking at what they do in our culture. And so even this idea of a gigantic accumulation of images is not just the result of a compulsion, but it's the result of a research. And I'd like to ask you, how do you also choose the themes of your different projects? Now, you recently did a show on Mother Goose, no? And,
yes, with Denslow's Mother Goose, and I tried to find the core of human nature. And so with the Teddy Bear Project, part of what grew, I wanted to have all the two brothers and sisters, the 3, etc. So that in itself, to cover family albums, is very difficult. As for the Denzel Mother Goose project, I'm trying to remember. Oh, I did. I put that together with Cortege and made an analogy of his Monk series, and the Zeppelins, and made an analogy of what are the nursery rhymes that bring us all together. I wanted to know how a good idea like arts and crafts in Edinburgh can go wrong, because it was such a utopian, idealistic idea, and what went wrong along the way that somehow, and there's a line that was crossed, and what was that line? So I'm constantly trying to get at the cultural roots to understand. When I do something until I understand it to the point where I feel I've got it. And did that with the Denzel Mother Goose project. I did it with also Punch and Judy, Why Did It Land in England? It was in Italy. It started out in Italy. What made it be so important there, and what does it say about our history? And that has been I want to know things, and I want to know the roots of the art. So, and artists are very sensitive to their time, but I try to diagnose and analyze, where did this come from and why?
So I don't know if we want to take maybe some questions from the audience.
And that's the last picture, because the ironies of a child. Yes, I'm happy to take questions if you have time.
Yeah, we can go. Excuse me. Maybe he can run. Can we keep running the images as we speak so they can look at them again? No?
Yeah, okay. I just thought this is convenient.
Yeah, so they can see them again.
See how elusive it is. It's there and not there. Felix is both there and not there. No matter how much you try to hold on to it, it's kind of not there.
So I don't know if there are any questions or yes.
Okay, I would like to know, because you were in a big research, if you discover in what year was created the first teddy bear, what was the company that created that? If for any reason also, I would like to know if you get in contact with that the companies that produce teddy bears, and there is another reality there, which is the reproduction in series, because those pieces are unique and very fine, like I am seeing. But what about those that population of teddy bears?
I did a lot of research with dealers of teddy bears, and also wrote the families, received letters from the families. They wanted their stories known. Often these children died, and all they had was the picture and the teddy bear. So there was a lot of other kind of research, and it was a way of trying to find out. I'm not sure if I heard all of your question, but I'm trying to find out.
The very first teddy bear in which year?
1902, there's a debate. We're not sure whether Margareta Steiff, who had polio, created it as a seamstress, or whether Theodore Roosevelt, who was also handicapped, and portrayed himself for the public as a hunter, and there was a fake killing of a bear, and Berryman did a cartoon of it, and Mitchum discovered it, and Ideal ultimately manufactured it. And there's toy fairs in Leipzig, and you have to there's a debate, and it's the battle between Germany and America, and I thought, this is perfect for my Hannah Darboven Antliedstedt site, where the boats are going from one side of the gallery to the other side of the gallery. So one side's European, the other side has mimic. It's really a mimic of an artwork, and then but so was Giulio Paolini's Mimesi, and so was the subject at the time. So you can never get past your subject, and so Jeff Wall's mimic was in it as well.
Yeah, what I always found particularly interesting about the Teddy Bear project, particularly when it was located in the exhibition partners, is how the teddy bear then became a sort of fetish or idol or metaphor for the 20th century. The exhibition, started from a toy where a mouse has conquered and trapped a cat. And of course, there was also an inversion of the Art Spiegelman famous comic book, Mouse, that it's the history of the Holocaust as translated in a sort of cartoonish version with the Jews as mice. And then, so throughout the exhibition, the story of the 20th century, the history of the 20th century was woven with the teddy bear. So after the teddy bear project, you would encounter the doll of Hitler, and then later on, you would encounter the photos of Eddie Adams, the famous one with the killing of the resistant in Ho Chi Minh City.
Well, there's the Eddie Adams execution of a Viet Cong suspect on one wall, and then there was the immolation series by Malcolm Brown on the other wall. And the duality of Thank You by that Bruce made for me and then worked with me on it, Saloon by Paul McCarthy, and Walker Evans, the Subway Portraits. But there was a performance at the opening by an Elvis impersonator, again a mimic, who was supplying me with teddy bear photographs from the Berlin flea market every Sunday morning. And so he came and did his Elvis impersonation. He'd never been in America. So everything is always sort of off.
Yeah. Is there one final question? We're a bit over time, so if there is one, we'll take it. Otherwise... So, and also, can I give you some insights about the logistics of moving this thing to Korea, which is probably going to be the end of my career. It's, I think, 4 containers of artworks and objects and electrical material. You know, the mezzanine is part of the installation, the walls, because Ydessa, and this is something we should work on, Ydessa never made a map of the photos. So paradoxically, it's easier to ship the walls because the walls have cleats onto which the photographs are attached than actually reconstruct walls on site. So it's literally the entire object travels to destination.
But I did place everything on the floor, and they are located very specifically in narratives.
Yeah.
But I wanted everybody to see it. It's not like Christian Boltanski's work, where you don't need to see it to get the point. I wanted the mezzanine so that everybody could look at every single photograph and see the story that I made, one after the other after the other.
So we take the question.
So I'm wondering, because it's been presented in North America and in Germany,
all over
and
the
there's
world.
this. Okay, so maybe I'll just skip that part and ask, what do you anticipate the response will be in Korea to this project?
Can you repeat?
I couldn't hear. What will be the response
What do you
in Korea
anticipate
to the
the
project?
response in Korea will be to the project?
That's his job.
No, I mean, I don't anticipate anything. I think it's, you know, I think it's one of the most unique things I've seen, and usually I like to share. So it's, I don't care if it's Asia or Moscow or, you know, and I always think to make a show special, you have to have at least one element of madness. And, you know, not that I'm saying that it was a mad operation, but it's quite mad, the idea of taking it on and move it so far away and make it the sort of epicenter of an exhibition. The exhibition itself also, the exhibition is titled 10,000 Lives, and the main theme, let's say, of the show is the relationship of people and images. And the multiple ways in which we relate to images and images relate to us. So this is very much a central artwork, I would call it, or anyway a central
project
ensemble of artworks. And I don't know how the reaction will be. I think it's, you know, this noise is weird. I think, you know, I thought a lot about it because, particularly because of the presence of him, the Adolf Hitler sculpture, which we're not taking because I was more interested in her contribution. And him, when I started going to Korea, I was thinking, you know, for us, the Holocaust is the ultimate evil and the ultimate crime, and everybody has an association with it. The moment you move to Asia, also those values shift. But I think that's also the challenge of this piece, and hopefully the challenge of the show itself, that will force us to lose our balance a little, and I think the local audience to lose their own balance, and they will identify other things much more clearly than a Western audience would, and vice versa. So, but unfortunately, until September 2nd, I don't know, and if God is with us, we'll finish it. If it's not, maybe the audience will never see. So, but I guess that's all, no? And please take a copy of the book, and if you want a press kit, and see you in Gwangju if you have a chance. Thank you so much.